Hey, Mikey,
Yes.
are you ready to go on another trip to Christian Land?
Yeah, I want to go see Sonic Chill.
I hate you so much.
Banana Bear Show.
We're on part three of our coverage of Christian and his lore, somewhat. Not covering everything, but last
Ish.
time we talked about his trolls, uh, ending with Liquid Chris.
Yes.
There's one other troll that we have to get to before we get to the changing. Like, the story changed a lot, and there's stopping points because Chris Chan did get off the internet for a little bit, and then he came back, and when he came back, he was a different person.
Whoa. Okay.
So the first person we're going to talk about is one of Chris Chan's rivals, because if you guys don't know this, he thinks he's a champion for autism, and
A
he hates anything to
champion?
take away from autism, like Asperger's. So somebody made a parody of Sonichu called Asperchu.
Pickles, evil forces are pursued by a hero with a medallion and his friends Max and Jim and Two. A dark and desperate creature in seclusion it resides, an evil robot metal Jew who's collecting pickles and taking lives. He's a hero whose heroic deeds aren't recognized. He brings all of the trolls attacking Quickbill down to their demise. Christian would lead you to believe he is just a parody. However, he's not clever, he's original, we guarantee. As for you, he wields the powers of God Jesus. As for you, he's
What?
one true hero here to save the day. Asper, Chew, Asper, Chew, Asper, Chew, Asper, Chew, Asper, Chew. He's gonna save his sweet optics and chew. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
So as you can see, it's a parody of Sonichu.
That's pretty
And
good.
Chris hates this completely. Now, it's kind of a checkmate to Chris because Chris always says that Sonichu is a real life property that he could copyright.
Right.
Technically, it's a parody, and
Right.
Chris Chan has said it's a parody, so he's allowed to use it. Well, this is a parody of his,
Yep.
so it's like 4D checkmate over here. There are conversations between the creator of Sonichu and Chris Chan, which we'll look at right now.
Okay.
Hi, is this Christian Weston Chandler?
Yes, this is Christian. May I help you?
Hi, Chris. This is Alec Benson Leary. Is it okay if we talk?
Oh, yes. Sure. Yes.
Okay.
So,
Good. Well, there's a couple things I wanted to talk to you about tonight. First of all, well, I understand you've got a problem with the ads that are on Wikipedia. Can you tell me a little bit more about? I kind of want to have get a compromise and settle this because I don't want
Okay.
anybody to be angry.
Now, Alex is running the ads on the Wikipedia, which
Okay.
was the website that Chris Chan had, and they're all like for gay porn, pickles, all that stuff. And Chris is very upset about it.
Okay.
okay, well, yeah, I'll let you have your ads on the Wikipedia, but don't make them too big, and leave them in the sidebar.
Okay.
I do not want them. I do not want them covering over the introductory box or anything else where I have to scroll down even to edit the pages or even to log in.
Okay.
So
well,
yeah.
I
So
understand.
again, just that. Okay, cool.
I
So
understand
just
it.
keep
Yeah.
all your ads on the sidebar.
Yeah. Yeah. My friend Mao, he actually makes the ads for me. I didn't make them myself, but I can try to talk to him about that. About
Okay.
the size. As for
All right.
like where on the Wikipedia they are, I don't know if Mao controls that or not. I don't think he does. I'm not sure what controls like where the ad space goes, on the website itself. I mean, I'll talk to Mal about it, but I'm not sure if he controls that either.
Yeah.
Okay. I could talk to him. So, but you might want to talk to your web manager or whatever, because they set up where the ad space goes,
Yeah, and also just one more concern of mine I've read your pages on the Asperchu comic, but the recent pages. What do you think? What do you think you're parodying? Happy Tree Friends?
What Happy Tree Friends? What's that?
It's supposed to be like a happy TBY show, but it's actually adult and dark humor because they go into cut slashing all the cute characters up and all the blood and gore and everything. And yet they make them come back to life unharmed the very next episode. Just slice and dice them up again.
Oh, I've never actually heard of that series. Is that what is that on cartoon? Wild's not yours. I mean, what does it matter if my Wild is gay?
Now, he's been taking characters from Chris Chan's Sonichu and putting them into his comic book, and he gets all upset. Now, Chris Chan has been doing this. He's been taking characters that don't belong to him, like fans would make them, and he would take them, rename them, and then do whatever. And he got into a fight with somebody about this, where he had to kill one character off, and then he just brought him back. He doesn't care.
I mean, I felt it was depth to the character. I was just trying to give them a little personality. And the homosexual references. I mean, okay, this is something that's come up before. I mean, I never Asperchu has a girlfriend, Dixie Chew.
No, actually, I read further in the book, and Dixie Chew dumped his ass.
Well,
come on,
she doesn't. No, she doesn't mean that. She doesn't mean that. They're destined to be together, Chris. I mean, can't you see those undertones? I mean, that's.
Now this conversation gets really weird because Chris starts saying, "Hey, do you think that the character Asperchu wants to be called Asperchu? It's like making fun of him because he has Asperger's." And he's like, "Well, no, because he's a character that I made up, so he doesn't mind because I wrote him that way."
Yeah.
And he's like, but when you make a character, it's like they're in their own reality. And the guy's like, no, they don't have free will. I created them. And this is funny because we'll get to it on this episode. His thought process of his animated creatures.
Curses and not literal curses, but he has detriments to his life that weigh him down as a character. And he has to work to overcome those. That's part of what makes a good character. I mean, you wouldn't make a character that's just all powerful and perfect in every way and has no real problems ever, would you? That'd be kind of boring. Complex characters have problems that they overcome. Yeah. And it takes time to overcome a serious problem. I mean, you just renamed him Mitch. I mean, that wouldn't do it. You can't just go in and snap your fingers and just wave the problem away. And I mean, one, that's not realistic, and two, that doesn't make for good fiction. I mean, as a direct, inspiration from Simon Chu.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll fix that tomorrow as well.
Well, like I said, Chris, you can't really go back and change history. What's there is there.
Anyway, what's the next thing?
No, it's not debatable. Chris, all these conditions I'm listing, you have to do these or my ads go nowhere.
Yeah, anyway.
So he wants him to do stuff to get rid of the ads because his ads are literally just porn, gay porn and pickle stuff.
Okay, what's the next thing?
Does that matter to you, Chris? You said it's debatable, and I'm saying it's not. Don't you want to acknowledge that?
Acknowledged. Anyway, what's the next thing?
All right. I asked you to apologize for the word naive. I want you to do that. Specifically say that you used the word naive because you intended to hurt and insult me, then my ads will go away. But if you make a video and you're missing anything, or if you deliberately contradict something, or if I feel like you know, this is the internet. You've seen tons of unpleasant crap. I'm sure I have. Treated me like shit, even though I've tried to help you countless times. You sound like a small child trying to get out of being lectured. I told you that if you met my requirements exactly, I wouldn't remove the ads. But if you failed to meet my requirements, the ads would get worse. Do you remember when I said that to you? So you failed to meet my requirements. You did meet Evan's requirements, apparently. Evan is happy with you himself. Did you see how depressed he was? I couldn't have prevented that. Oh, letters. Let's see here.
You're being ridiculing to me.
Is that the pot calling the kettle black? Chris, I want to understand why it is okay for you to do so many things to other people, but you get mad when they do it back to you. Please, I'm asking you a simple question. Please explain this to me. Why is it that any level, any tiny level of stress or inconvenience, and you immediately will fall back on, you know, you're being attacked, or you're being, you know, your world.
It just happens, especially when I'm tired.
That's not an excuse.
Like how he poofs his face sometimes. Anyway, so that was, he trolled him for a while. So we get to a sad part. Christian's dad died.
Yeah.
He had congestive heart failure. I guess he had a pacemaker. He had a lot of heart attacks. And so the internet lumberjack passed away. And when that happened, literally people stopped messing with Chris.
Wait,
they're like,
what's the internet lumberjack?
That's Chris's dad, because he's going to cut down the internet.
Oh.
Yeah, going to cut it down.
Okay.
But then something else happened that was pretty bad.
Greene County investigators are looking into the cause of a house fire early this morning. It started at about 3 o'clock this morning at a home on Branchland Court. That's in the southern part of the county. We're told the fire started in a first-floor bathroom, but got quickly out of control and eventually shot through the roof. Everybody inside was able to get out safely, but one firefighter suffered minor injuries. The cause of the fire is still under investigation.
Well, what happened, you saw how cluttered that house was.
Yeah.
Chris wanted to put a Keurig in an outlet, and so he put it in the bathroom outlet, which had an extension cord that was getting rubbed back and forth at a door, and it caused electrical fire and burned his house down.
Yep.
So also around this time, Chris came back from the internet, and he looked way different. He started calling himself a tom girl, started growing out his hair, and wearing women's clothing.
Oh boy.
Oh, hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So if you've watched me even
Blair White.
just casually throughout the years, you would...
If you don't know, Blair White's a popular transsexual woman, conservative. I don't know why the trans community hates her. Maybe because she's conservative.
Yeah, conservative, and believes that normal stuff, you know, like kids shouldn't be on hormones. And
she believes that her condition is a mental illness.
Yeah.
would know that I have covered some of the most depraved, interesting to say the least, just gutter butt individuals that exist on the internet. And I've chronicled people like Jessica Yaniv, people like Stefankny, and honestly, I felt like I had kind of been desensitized to the black abyss that is humanity. No, I just really thought I had seen it all. But according to you guys, in the many DMs I've received over the past few days, I have in fact not seen it all. And speaking of Jessica Yaniv, the story that we're covering today does mirror Jessica Yaniv in certain aspects, because Chris Chan, the subject of today's video, is trans. And the reason I say trans is because this person has self-identified as a tomgirl, intersex female soul with a male
Take a look at that photo. When they came
Yep.
out, that's what they look like. By the way,
Yeah.
they were growing out the hair, and his mom, cut it off because she's like, I don't want a gay as a son. And I guess before the father died, he started doing this, and he was just really disgusted.
Yeah.
Body, a tranny cross-dresser, and a lesbian identified male. Not to mention this person's alleged transition consists of taint piercings, wearing menstrual pads, taking medication to treat menopause, which is not recommended or useful for transition, cutting his own genitals with a box cutter at home because the internet told him to, claiming to be trans to, quote, get more girls, and being the wife of the Pokemon Mewtwo. So...
Oh, it gets weird.
Yeah.
Everything that you had before was pretty bad, Mikey,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We're going down a hole.
Fair.
Now, Chris Chan is often referred to as the most documented person on the internet. Although it may be a new name to some of you, to a lot of you, you will know that he is actually very internet famous, and his antics and criminal history and posts and just everything, every interaction he's almost ever had is documented on the internet, to the point where there is a series on YouTube going on part 60, I believe, right now.
Yes, that is the quintessential place if you want to hear everything there is about Chris Chan. That's the place to go. They go so in depth. As you can see, each one is 45 minutes long.
Wow.
But it's hardcore in depth with everything that's happened. And of course, I'm trying to fit this all in 4, right?
And all the episodes are really long. Like it's a whole thing with this mother. So why am I here talking about Chris today? Well, Chris was trending on Twitter just a few days ago, and I noticed this, and I have heard the name kind of off and on throughout the years because, like I said, he is quite well known. Previously, I had not really dove into the entirety of his history online, which I did last night, and I'm wearing 10 pounds of concealer because I have dark circles out to here. It is haunting me. So I see Chris Chan trending on Twitter, and I look, and it's because of a leaked audio
Haunts me
in which
every
Chris
day.
admits to...
Okay, she's going to get into something that we're going to cover in the last part.
Okay.
But I'm just saying that the reason why mostly I wanted to show this one is because Chris Chan thinks he's a girl.
Yes.
The trans community does not accept him at all because he's doing it to try to get chicks. Oh,
Right.
by the way, Chris Chan did finally lose his virginity around this time to a prostitute. He said that he did it good because that's what she said.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
people stopped messing with him, and then they started again, obviously, but not too much. It was more or less he started going to conventions, right,
Okay.
as a woman, right,
Yeah.
and being really creepy. And then he started talking about this.
Hello everybody, this is Christine Chandler coming to you live from home
Oh, he started drinking and smoking weed too.
once again. And we're going to talk about the recent, more obvious topic of the dimensional merge. Yes, this dimension right here, 1218, is going to be merged with our sister dimension, C197. Where most of our superheroes, supervillains, OCs, and what have you, and other characters have been existing and coexisting. Yep. Everybody who survives this will get to meet their favorite superheroes among others and everything.
Okay.
But yes, there are.
He's mentally gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
Through his transition, and a thing that we're going to talk about, the idea guys, in his mind, think of Rick and Morty, right? They talk
Okay.
about dimensional rifts, different dimensions.
Yes.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Like that dimension that had all cartoons in it.
Uh-huh.
Think of all the other shit that we've been getting with different dimensions. In his brain, he was convinced that not only all the OCs, which means Sonichu, and all the cartoons live in another dimension, but they're going to merge with us. Oh, also at the time he started saying that because of his love quest he was done with, he doesn't need a real partner anymore because he's married to Magichan, which is one of the Pokemon, the Sonichus that he made up, Mewtwo, and something else. Yeah.
Huh.
Those are going to survive, and those are not going to survive. But that's, unfortunately, should be most of the Earth population. And those that I do care about are going to survive. But among which that won't survive is going to be some of the politicians. But aside from that, the decision is definitely supported by me, but also going to be made in part by your goddess of this earth. Yep. Parent of Jesus is a woman. Okay? Yep. Just get that mind blower out of the way. Anyway, they're being supportive and all this and everything. I'm supporting them, and yep. But dimensions are gonna merge. And yada yada yada.
Dimensions are gonna merge. Blah blah blah.
Pardon me, my head's got the thing, the psychic link, and I get the headaches now and then.
What?
Probably because he only eats fast food.
Because I'm so integrated in all this. You of the Commodore consoles and of my nation, the comma. Definitely verified on the internet. Her name is Scarlet. It's not cool.
So much dead hair.
Oy. What's next? You can tell, obviously, this is really coming from my heart. I have no script. This is me.
Your
explaining
heart
it as best
is
I
not
can.
there, sir.
To this Earth, in this dimension, 1218. Anyway, don't panic. Remain calm.
Obviously, he got that from Marvel.
We will get through this. We will survive. And everybody will get to meet their OCs and superheroes.
No, you said some people wouldn't
We
survive.
definitely stay away from the supervillains, though. Okay? I'm essentially speaking to her directly through this video, so then she can get a better understanding from the recent events and what we've been letting her know about recently. So, please, nobody contact her. Okay? Unless you're really close friends. And, Megan, if you do get...
Megan was the girl that he was stalking at the first place with the game place. By the way, at the game place, he did try running over the dude twice. He was going to get convicted, and the guy at the game place said, I don't want this to be a can you drop it down to a misdemeanor? Because a felony on this guy's record would be very harmful, and I don't want that. And then when he said that in court, Chris was like, he's such an asshole. Blah, blah, blah. He didn't understand the guy was trying to help him out.
Right.
And I guess the guy passed away.
Oh.
So Chris never got to go back to the game place.
get bullied or your inbox becomes... But anyway, Megan, your counterpart in C-197, ever since her Sailor Senshi powers, Sailor Megtoon, have been stripped after the unfortunate breakup events of '06 or '07.
Is he saying
Reference
words?
or two, but the name is always censored. So, sooner you wake up to that realization.
Just batshit crazy.
Yeah.
But mostly it's because of the idea, guys.
Hello.
Now, I couldn't find a really good video of the idea, guys. So I just picked this one. Hopefully it'll cover it.
The Idea Guys were a group of 4 trolls: Joshua Wise, Stephen Boyd, and 2 anonymous followers. Together, they manipulated, extorted, and brainwashed Chris from October 2017 to April 2018. Initially, their aim was to see how gullible Chris was, but this soon degenerated into taking advantage of him financially and coercing him into performing many degrading acts, including some that would put Blue Spike to shame. This was a big reference that came up in Blue Spike's page and in this page. They're often interlinked very much as Chris's worst trolls, and I think it's very fair. After looking through this, after doing my research, I can't really disagree. So the actual members of the Idea Guys, well, there's 4 of them. There's Joshua Wise, who was kind of the main guy. He did most of the stuff, basically. He was the Idea Guy. Then there was Stephen Boyd, who was kind of the Idea Guy 2.0. He still did a lot of stuff. They kind of all worked together. Joshua Wise was the ringleader. Stephen Boyd was the guy on the sides. No one really knew about him until it was all over, and he did stuff in the dark. Now, the other 2, their names have been kept confidential because they dropped out very early. They didn't do much of the trolling. So presuming it was 4 guys who were kind of seeing how far they could push Chris, and eventually they realised that they could push Chris very far, and 2 of them dropped out. So I think that's fair that their names are kept hidden. So this page references Kiwi Farms a lot, which was once the CWC forums, which is where people would go to discuss Chris Chan back when he was kind of at his pinnacle, at his height of popularity, and people were talking about him a lot. It's now called Kiwi Farms because people discuss all kind of strange, eccentric people. However, Chris had a community that backed him, especially with the Idea Guys. There was a group of Kiwi Farm users who were called the Gardogs, and they were run by a guy called Null. If it wasn't for them, perhaps the Idea Guys would have genuinely pushed Chris to the limit.
So basically, during this time, he comes out trans, all this stuff. He's trying to. We're at the point where the old guard is trying to protect Chris. Because, a lot of fucked up shit happened to this guy. And people are realizing, like, dude, yeah, he's never going to get a real job. It's too late now.
Yeah.
So maybe if he could get marketed as, hey, he's the guy that got trolled. And because, like, nobody thought of him as an actual threat. He's
Right.
just an autistic guy that is very gullible.
Right.
So around that time, you had the guard dogs, and then you had this other group that got real close to Chris and started feeding him ideas about a dimensional rift. And, it's foretold about this thing, kind of making it into a religion, feeding into Chris's naivety. To one point, I don't know if he's going to cover this, where he's like, look, in this alternate universe, you're going to have a child. But you have to do it through Sonichu. So you have to draw you raping Sonichu.
Oh boy.
So he did.
It's only because of the guard dogs that Chris was able to escape the torment. If I'm honest, I don't want to spend too much time on the Idea Guys, because it's a lot about Sonichu lore and what he does to the actual lore of the comics. As I don't really cover that as much, I don't want to reference that completely. Joshua Wise started off by manipulating Chris into believing that fictional worlds were actually alternate dimensions. This sounds very strange, but Chris genuinely believed this, and through the manipulation from Wise, he was able to gain his trust and get him to believe all kinds of different strange things that affected his work, affected his actual mental reality. That he was superpowers in real life if he did certain things. He obviously never got these superpowers, but he did these things for them. This one is more sad because Chris doesn't really do anything wrong. He puts his trust in the wrong people, yes, but they manipulate him in such a way that in this one specifically, you genuinely feel bad for Chris. So as I said, there's a lot about Chris's fictional world and his sense of reality, which the Idea Guys like to mess around with. They like to play around with stuff. They like to drop little tidbits in his comics, and often it was jokes that they'd make that would go over Chris's head. He wouldn't understand them, and therefore they'd go straight in the comics, and that was when people would start to realize that he was getting trolled.
Like they would have CQC now has a thing called stormtroopers. Now you're thinking, oh, Star Wars. No, they're talking about the Third Reich. Stormtroopers.
He was probably
Okay.
getting controlled for a couple months before anyone realized that anything was happening, because they were very subtle, especially at the start. Again, I'm not covering it much, but one of the big things that jumped out to me was this phrase. Wise told Chris that Maggie Chan had a vision that Crystal would be born from Chris Sonichu. Despite
Yeesh.
going blatantly against Chris's beliefs and wishes, the message was convincing enough that Chris drew a horrifying piece of artwork depicting the act, where comic Chris apologizes to Sonichu, but insists that destiny called us to make this baby. Typically, this might be quite funny, the use of that, and the fact that it is obviously fictional. However, here it's just sad. These are characters that Chris has grown to love for probably 15 years nearly at this point. It's crazy. And he loves them so much, they've kind of twisted him and manipulated him into doing this horrid act in his fictional world. It's crazy how these guys make you empathize with Chris. So what I wanted to talk specifically about was the extortion. Oh boy. The final straw in the unpopular opinion of the idea guys were the acts of extortion to Chris. Null, the owner of Kiwi Farms, revealed that they managed to extort $6,000 worth of video games and other accessories. Not only that, Boyd also demanding $20,000 during a Discord chat, or else he would report Chris as a paedophile to the FBI. When the idea guys threatened to destroy CWCville, Chris withheld a mortgage payment to save his fictional setting, nearly causing the so-called homeless saga in May 2018. Chris has a tendency to hold on to things obsessively. And here, this actually came in. He kept all of the receipts, all of the payments from all the transactions he made for this $6,000 to give to these guys. And luckily, Chris was trusting enough of Noel, who was in charge of the Kiwi Farms, to give him access to his Discord.
Wow.
So they could collect all this information and therefore expose these two guys for stealing this money from Chris. They manipulated him into him buying all this stuff for them and nearly going homeless. Here's a quote from Noel. So, naturally, once they have Chris believing that they have Chris confessing to being a paedophile and his mother, once they have those confessions, they threaten to release it to the public if he doesn't record himself shitting on the floor and punching himself in the face until tears and snot are running down his chin. At one point, they ask Chris to punch his mother, which he does, though he claims lightly. These are the kind of things that the idea guys were able to do. Although this page itself doesn't go into huge amounts of detail on what he actually physically did, it clearly shows that they stole $6,000 from him and attempted to steal much, much more at the threat of him being exposed as a paedophile or as a rapist. It's insane. This goes from funny haha trolling to just being pure dark, manipulative theft. They've never been arrested or anything. People have called the police because of this. Chris technically bought them out of his own free will. It's a very hard case to do, and therefore they haven't been arrested or fined or anything like that, which is quite sad that nothing has come from it. They have just got away with stealing $6,000. This has kind of discussed who they were, what they did. Now, how did they actually stop talking with Chris? See, they were talking to him for about 6 months on Discord, and in the end, Chris gave his Discord account to Noel, who was in charge of the Kiwi Farms.
And he got blacked. So, here's here's Noel about idea guys.
Grand Moff Alexander, how long until we hear Chris Chan is dead, lads?
Oh, hopefully soon.
I don't know. You were going to bat. Wait a minute. You were going to bat for him, right? Like, what the fuck? And now he's...
Yeah, that was
That's Mr. Medicare, by the way.
I systematically dismantled all these people taking advantage of him. I did. I fucking skewered like a dozen little fucking retard kids that were fucking with this guy. I got all these bad influences out of his life. I contacted the police to try and get him help, try to get these people who were swindling him of thousands of dollars money, and built up a nice little circle, filtered out people so he wasn't getting his delusions emboldened by people trying to get him to do shit. And he didn't want that. He faded out of contact with everybody because people didn't want to talk to him about fictional universes.
Wait, I just want to be clear on this. Are you telling me the dude that runs Kiwi Farms, you got conned by one of the biggest lolcows out there?
I didn't get conned. I didn't lose anything for it.
Well,
Well,
no,
me
you
and
got,
you've gotten
you
to a
got,
huge-
no, you got all the trolls off his back, and then he dumps your ass like a bad day.
The people who were fucking with him were funnier than Chris has been for years, which was part of the double edge for that. But like I gave him a chance. I said, "Look, I'll help you out," and I had people who were willing to help him out, and he didn't want people who were not playing pretend with him and with the dimensional shit. And eventually, it's just like, Chris, you can do whatever you want, but I'm not going to talk to you
I remember
about
me
me
and
too.
you getting in a huge argument about this. Like,
That's Ralph.
I don't know, 5 or
No,
6
and I still hold. If he were,
and now you're just like, they said when we're gonna hear Christian died, and you said hopefully soon. It's like, what the fuck goes on?
how much these guys broke him to the point where he's willing to continue to use the things they got him to say as like a blanket. I don't know, but I fucking
Well,
hated this.
what's going on with like the convergent shit and the CPUs and the dead cats? Like,
I don't know.
is that
I haven't
is that
been
a new
talking to
group,
him.
or
He
is
used to
that
send
him?
me. He used to be sending me text messages and stuff every day. We talked about inane shit, and eventually he got more and more less and less frequent with the messages he was sending, to the point where we don't talk for weeks unless he wants something. And then just
I gotta
ignore
say,
him.
man, like the videos he did with Barb disgust me. Like she's
Yeah.
all wound up and she looks like she's completely there's dead eyes and
Those
shit.
were her idea.
I don't buy that for a second.
She hands it up for the camera.
Nah, that look you can't.
That's what she looks like.
She's not
fake
there.
that look. That's the look of a woman.
Oh
that's
yeah,
dead.
Barb has been an emotional manipulator her entire life.
I don't disagree, and I think she's been a horrible woman that's done terrible things and has used them quite a bit. But I think she's going to be dead probably by mid next year. Like she is on her way out.
Her
she's still alive.
The videos with her are
what you doing
her
with
idea.
yourself?
I tell you. The word lolcow. Chris was it. Chris was numero uno, and
live is gone. Yeah.
Yeah, it's with her, it's over. So I don't. It's going to be the darkest saga for him because once she's gone, I don't know what.
I disagree. Once she's dead, he's gonna be better off because she takes a lot of money from him. She takes like $950 out of the $1,300 a month he makes off of welfare income for disability.
Wow.
And she spends it mostly on
$1,800.
Yeah.
That's so much money.
shit.
Yep.
Well, yeah, but he's not going to be living in that house.
No,
right?
the house is gone.
Yep. Do you think he's going to be able to competently manage his bills? He's going to spend it all. He's going to take his tugboat, and he's going to spend it on the newest PS4 games, and then he's going to go on the internet and say, "Buy my comics because I'm going to be homeless if I don't pay my fucking rent by the first or the
Well,
third."
the thing is, when we had a plan in place for Barb dying, and we were legit going to fucking drive over there and manage his finances. No, I swear to God, I am a fucking bleeding heart. I was gonna do this. I had other people who lived very nearby, people who had contacts with assisted living facilities and shit, and we had a fucking battle plan. And it's just like over time, you lose a lot of sympathy for him just because of how intentionally he alienates people who don't want to play exactly to the T with what he wants to do. And what he wanted to do was further submerge himself in this fucking delusional bullshit that I can't stomach.
I'm picturing a reality show with you and some of your fucking mods living.
You never talk to him because whenever you talk to him, he sends a message back like, "Yeah, I had a conversation with Me Too, and she assures me that this is going to happen in the next week." Or I'll tell him something like new information that he should be aware of. He's like, "Magic-chan told me about that, and this just confirms that." And it's just like, I'm not doing this. I'm sorry, but not sorry. I'm not playing this game.
This sounds so depressing.
So I don't know what the fuck is going.
So basically, the guy at Kiwi Farms, this horrible person, was going to fit up something, and the next episode we get to the reason why it's not going to happen that way. Where he was going to take the sums of not only the tugboat but any merchandise or any conventions he would go to, and he would get a bank account and he would lock it to with Chris, so he would have enough but not all of it. So he would like have a phantom account paying for Chris's house and utilities, so he would never have to worry about that.
Right.
But of course, Chris thinks this fucking merge is going to happen, and but it's going to happen, and it's going to kill Donald Trump, and we get to see all this stuff. He's so dead set on this fucking thing now that people like he even said, when you talk to him, that's all he says. Oh, Magic Chain told me this. And there's parts, I didn't want to get into it, but he goes on Twitter or X, and he's like, oh, I'm actually Sonichu. I took over Christina Western Chandler's body to say the dimensional things are working, and she's in our dimension now, and blah blah blah. All this bullshit stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. To the point where it's like cringy fucking bullshit crazy. It's worse than that chick that has her own church that we covered.
Yeah.
Because that's just laughable. You can see how people are fucking with her. But this thing is like his lulz, he's making up. Because this is what he wants. And lo and behold, an action that he does, which we'll cover on the last part of this.
Yeah.
Ruins that all. And Noel kind of wipes his hands after something happens.
Okay.
So that's part 3. We now have Christina Western Chandler. Thinks this girl. Oh, not to mention, what's her name? Did mention the whole cutting thing. Somebody told he takes hormones, right?
Yeah.
And he thought a vagina was growing underneath his body. So he took a box cutter and cut his taint open. Obviously, people were like, dude, are you fucking retarded? Like, fucking go to the doctor. And not until it got infected, he did. Like, that's how crazy he is now. He's a lost fucking cause. And it's funny because it was just an autistic guy that liked Sonichu and just never got laid, and he was obsessed with China, to this new thing where he apologized for all the gay references he's done because now he believes he's a part of that community.
Yeah.
To the now it's like he reversed more into a child's mind, and lo and behold, the last thing that he does until he doesn't become a free man anymore is just like wow.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah, I know, it's like a 180.
Yeah.
It wasn't a slight turn to craziness. It just happened after the dad died and the fire happened and him acting like a tom girl. That's when the idea guys came in and just changed his
Completely.
reality.
Just shaken baby cindered him.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there you go.
Thanks, I guess.
So that's it.
All right, we'll see you in the next video. No, I don't want to do that next. Go to Banana Bear Show on YouTube. Be sure to like, subscribe, show the video some love. Check out the LolCal podcast, LolCal playlist. Man,
Yeah.
I'm just all off the game. And leave a comment. Let us know what you think of Chris Chan and how sad this is. And we'll see you next video. Bye.
Bleh.